Everyone, I'm Mackayla, and today we are welcoming Arden Alexa to the Soundtrack of Our Lives podcast. She's going to talk about her latest EP. We're really glad to have you here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. Thanks, Mackayla.
Yeah. So, your music has been described as a fusion of indie style with influences from artists like Taylor Swift and Katy Perry. So, how did these influences shape the creation of your latest EP, 22?
That's a great question. I think I've been shaped by all of the artists that I grew up listening to, and I will continue to be shaped by them for as long as I am around and making music. I think one thing that I really took away, especially from Taylor Swift, is, she really writes about her experience, right? And like
Hmm.
that's her thing, right? Is she writes about her life. And so when I discovered songwriting as a way to do that, it became like that much more special to me. And so with this EP, it is written so much about my life and like so describes my life perfectly in like this one period of time. So I really, that was definitely a big influence from Taylor Swift, was getting this inspiration to write about my life, and
Hmm.
write exactly what I was feeling. And it ended up actually being a very cathartic thing to do, and, to write about all these things that I was feeling that I couldn't necessarily say to the other person.
Yep.
But at least I could write a song about it. So that's something. And, maybe they heard the song. But yeah. And I think just stylistically, I think you're influenced from everything that you hear,
Hmm.
so I think I grew up as a musical theater kid and listening to operas and things. So I feel like even now I feel like I've been influenced by those, and in my music you can find little tidbits of like, oh, this definitely is like musical theater kid like popping through. So I think all of my influences are there, and I think as I discover more artists and write more music, they'll definitely be there. I really think like we're so shaped by everything we
Hmm.
listen, right? So they're all in there somewhere.
And so, how does your experience as a musical theater kid kind of play into how you became an artist?
Well, that was, I think, being a musical theater kid was a big realization light bulb moment for me, where I went, oh, I love this attention. Oh my gosh, love being on stage, being the center of attention. And I was on stage from starting when I was really, really, really young. So I think that definitely made me comfortable on stage and very
Hmm.
confident on stage, because it was just so natural to me. Like, honestly, probably from when I was like 4, I was on stage. So it just became like breathing. Like, it's so, so natural to me.
Hmm.
Also, that aspect of telling stories, I think, really stayed with me. And, in a lot of my music, I think that I tell stories, and I try to, even with this EP, it kind of encapsulates my senior year of high school. And so I think when you like listen to that, you can hear a lot of that. And it's all like, if you listen to it with that perspective, it's almost like a cohesive story of, the different chapters of that year. And the final thing is, I think like it also really is what sparked my passion for music. I mean, there's so many musicals I like Phantom of the Opera was honestly my first love, which sounds so weird, but like 2-year-old me was jamming to Phantom of the Opera. So I think it definitely was what sparked my like love of music and kind of just furthered it. But yeah, I think, musical theater kids are weird, and like you kind of just have to embrace that. So like I was a weird kid that was obsessed with Hamilton and
Hmm.
obsessed with Phantom of the Opera. And then, I would literally like it's like kind of embarrassing to admit, but like my middle school years, I was literally the kid in the theater room, like that I would like in the theater, and I would sit at the piano and like just play by myself during lunch.
Hmm.
Like that was the most fun to me, and I was like, all these other kids are doing weird games like at recess. I'm gonna be at the piano. So it definitely was like my first, I think, introduction to music, and also
Hmm.
like first like love of music.
That makes sense. Yeah, so in theater and then in your music, you've kind of incorporated this storytelling.
Mhm.
So you've mentioned a little bit that they're very, personal. So how do you kind of tell that personal story while also kind of, keeping a little bit of it for yourself?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I've never been a person that really keeps things to myself. Like, I definitely was I was starting all of the rumors about myself, and I was definitely the one spilling all of the tea. So, I don't mind sharing it. It kind of has become, it started out as like an outlet for me of like
Hmm.
expressing, especially all of my like really inner thoughts, was how I expressed it, was through songwriting. So, you know, I think it is nerve-wracking to share that, but I have found that as people connect to it, you know, and they tell me that they connect to it, and like it makes it easier to release, and it makes it easier to write, and know that it might be a song that I'm releasing, is that I know someone, you know, might feel connected to that song or that feeling, and when they tell me, it makes it, you know, all the more special. So, you know, I think I will never like explicitly explain all of the specific details of songs, you know, I'll keep that to myself. But as far as what's in the song, like that is up for grabs. Like, you know, I will share that absolutely. And if people connect to it, you know, that's kind of the whole goal as a songwriter, right? Is to get people to connect to our music. So
Yeah, so you mentioned starting rumors about yourself. So what, did you start any interesting rumors or?
let's see. Well, the first date that I ever went on, probably in like seventh grade, I came to school the next day and told every single person who would listen. Like, I was like, I have a boyfriend. Like, I'm so cool. And we had gone on one date, like, to the movies, and we were like babies. And I was like, yeah, so I have a boyfriend. So yeah, I'm super cool. So that was one of the first things that I remember. And then I don't know. I mean, I guess, you know, I think I'm just like kind of an open book. Like I mean, there's not been any like nasty crazy rumors. Like there's no Mean Girls level stuff, but I definitely will like spill the tea about my dating life. And like, let's see, when one of the guys that I was involved with senior year kind of broke things off, immediately everyone knew. I was walking through campus with my mascara like running and like wearing that proudly, and like telling all of my friends knew. It was like lore, and like has become like the school lore. So yeah, I definitely was not ashamed of being the center of attention, unfortunately. So but nothing like too crazy, I think. So nothing insane.
Okay, I was just wondering.
I know. I feel like I should come up like with a better story. You
Yeah,
know,
you could
like,
say anything. Who might? Like, I'm not gonna know.
it's true. It's true. I'll think about that for next time. I'll think
Next
about
time.
it.
Yeah, you have a better answer for next time. Yeah, so petty bitch draws from personal experience with a friend breakup, which I think everybody can relate to. We've all had that experience. So, how did you translate such that raw and emotional experience into such a upbeat, fun song?
Yeah, this was such a fun song to write. I think because I was like really going through it at the time. I was really emotionally just torn up about this. I mean, this was my best friend of 10 years. So it was a huge loss for me. And it started off as a joke that I was kind of, my dad and I were yelling, you know, you're a petty bitch, like joke. So it wasn't even a song at first, and I recorded it on my phone because I thought it was hilarious. And then as I was, you know, sitting in my room probably crying, I was like, how, you know, I mean, it is, how can you channel all of the sadness and the grief of really losing someone into something else? And after like having this talk with my dad, I was fired up, and I was like, woo! You know, I was like, yeah, you know what? She sucks. Like, she's the worst. And then, I mean, I really just sat down with this guitar and with my guitar and like wrote that chorus really quickly. And honestly, I feel like I'm like a pretty nice person. Even when I've been scorned, I feel like I'm generally pretty nice. And so had all of these things like in the back of my mind under all of the sadness that was like anger, that I would never have said to her face,
right,
in a million years. Like, I'm not that type of person. Yeah. But I like really had all these feelings, and after having that kind of talk with my dad, that kind of like unlocked it, you know. And I was like, oh my god, you know what? She is stupid. Like, she is dumb. She was ridiculous. And so it just really like came out of like all of these things that I would never say, but they were still valid feelings and absolutely there, and you know, kind of under all of that like grief. And I wrote this song and had so much fun with it. You know, that was the biggest thing, is it was the first time after like our breakup that I felt like I wasn't feeling sad about it, you know, which I think was a very important step for me. So it was like just really a release of all of these things that I wanted to say, and came out into this song, and it really was just so much fun to write. So and definitely like a very important step in getting over that situation, for sure.
I can imagine. Yeah. So, how did you balance like the fact that the sound of the song is so fun, but then, it's the emotion behind it really isn't all of this happiness that is kind of conveyed in the song?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's one of my favorite things to do. And probably one of the things that I've picked up from Taylor Swift for sure is I love to like disguise sad lyrics under happy melodies and under happy like production. So, I knew this song wasn't going to be like a sad, mournful song, and I really wanted it to be kind of a really, you can scream it in your car kind of situation.
Hmm.
So, I definitely knew that. And I also, I think one of the things the skills that I've developed as a songwriter is being able to kind of imagine what production I want and
Hmm.
what instruments and like the whole vibe that I want. And that's definitely a skill that I've really learned in the past couple years. So going into the studio, I definitely like had, I was like Better Than Revenge was kind of by Taylor Swift was like my inspiration, and I was like, yes, like I know exactly, what it has to be. But I definitely, I was like, it's kind of the move, the step after the sadness,
Hmm.
though some of the lyrics are bittersweet, like I didn't want it to be a sad song,
Yeah.
and I wanted it to be kind of like a, scream in your car, like that was definitely what I wanted going into the studio, and I think we achieved that pretty well, so
Yeah, I would say so. It's
yay.
definitely my favorite off the EP just because I feel like I heard that and I'm like, I relate so much.
I know it's an unfortunate thing, the friend breakup, but I
But
think it's
it's part
important.
of becoming yourself.
Absolutely,
It's kind of,
absolutely.
it happens to everybody.
Yeah. That's the thing after this song is I had no idea like this was such a universal thing, and then I've had so many people come up to me and be like, "Oh my god, I went through this." Even my mom, like I had no idea, and she was like, "I had the same thing." Like of my friend of like 20 years, and then just one day, so that was like a cool thing that I didn't know it would be such a
Yeah.
universal thing, and then it like became this universal thing. So that was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was just going to ask, how do you hope listeners kind of relate to that song and like kind of find solace, I guess, in the message of it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I really do hope that, people can listen to it and be like, okay, it's not just me experiencing this, because I think
Yeah.
that was something that I really felt, especially with how, this person was treating all of the rest of our friends, and I felt like, wow, this is only happening to me,
Hmm.
which made it so much worse, which made it in so much harder. And I was like, why am I being singled out as like the bad guy?
Yeah.
So I think I really, really, really hope that people can just, you know, it will help them realize that it is not, it's not just them going through it. It's not just them who's dealing with this. And then that it can, bring them some comfort that there's not
Hmm.
just sadness when you lose a friend, there's other
Yeah.
feelings, and move past it. And I mean, I've moved past it clearly, and everyone does. So yeah, so I hope people can connect to it in that way.
Yeah. And then the music video for it seems like that was probably so much fun to film. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yes, it was so much fun and also so stressful. I mean, we did the entire video in one day, which is
Wow.
pretty intense. It was
How long did it take?
I was up, I was probably up from 4 a.m. to like 10 p.m.
Hmm.
So it was a long
Yeah.
haul for sure. And I mean, there were so many moving parts. So, like, a lot of extras and a lot of different scenes and costume changes and choreography. And so there was so many moving parts. But, I think it was super fun. So I got to film it at my old middle school. So, like,
Oh, that's fun.
where I actually went to middle school. So that was kind of a fun, blast from the past moment for me, where I was like, oh my God, like, I'm like walking down these halls that I used to walk down, and like that was wild. But I mean, it was so much fun, and
Hmm.
the team was so great. So Cedric Lesh was the director, and I mean, we really worked on it together. So it was really like a joint project for the two of us, and he was
Hmm.
just so great and put in so much time before, and we scouted and really mapped out all of the scenes and everything beforehand because we knew that it was going to be like a tight day.
Yeah.
So he was really great, and then all of the actors and like the mean girls, and even a couple of the extras of the boys are my neighbors.
Oh,
So
that's fun.
sweet, and they showed up, and my little brother and his friends. So everyone really like showed up, which always is such a nice feeling to feel really supported. I mean, honestly, I could not. My parents were there, which like thank God, because I couldn't have gone through it without them. My mom would follow me around with a Red Bull, and like in between takes, she'd be like, "Here's the Red Bull, here's the coffee." So they really, really, really got me through it for sure. But I mean, so much fun. Just like such a joy to work with all those people, and very talented, very kind people. So it was a blast.
Now, do you see yourself doing more music videos in the future?
Oh my god, I love music videos. Like that's definitely where the musical theater kid in me like comes out for sure. I don't do a ton of acting anymore, but that's really where I get to kind of, come out, and it's fun to play a different part,
Yeah.
and it's fun to come up with. I mean, the other thing is I like came up with the entire concept for the video and all of the scenes and like wrote it all myself. So
Well, that's awesome.
it's a very different creative outlet than like singing or writing a song, but I think it's super fun to come up with, different stories, and what is the character that I'm going to be playing, what's the part, and how does it tell the story of the song. So I definitely, like, as long as I keep making music, I will be making music videos for sure.
That's awesome. I love that you were so involved in it.
Yeah, I mean, I try to be really involved in everything, and I'm also like a little bit of a control freak. So I think if somebody else tried to do it for me, I would be like, no, this has to be like this, and this has to be like this. So at some point, it's just easier if I just do it myself.
I mean, it's understandable. It's your baby. It's
Yeah.
like it's part of you. So
Yes, it is definitely, that's a great way to put it. It's my baby, so it's like I can't give my baby to someone else. Yeah, like it's my little thing. So yeah.
yeah. So how would you say your music has evolved from your debut single, "The Coast," to your release of 22?
I mean, it's evolved a lot, and it's still evolving. I think as I get older, I get more confident, I think, in myself and in my abilities, and also more confidence to try new things. So I think even from my first EP, Daydreams, I think to this EP, there is a little bit more maturity and a little bit more, trying different things. And then for future music, I think I'll try more things and, go a little even more crazy. So I think with my music, I really just try to have it reflect who I am in the moment that I'm making it. So when I released The Coast, I think I was maybe 16. And then obviously when I released this EP, I wrote most of it when I was 18 and released it when I was 19. So it's definitely, it's definitely a little bit older and kind of describes my experiences like in the moment of who I am. So yeah, I think my music in all of the stages kind of really reflects like where I am at that point, and I think that's what I'll continue to do. So
yeah, now that you've, graduated high school and you're kind of transitioning into being a full-time artist. So what have been like the most challenging and the most rewarding aspects of kind of venturing into this new journey?
I mean, one thing that has been really challenging is that, I mean, it's not the typical path, it's not the normal thing to do. And I went to a very, very, very academic school, so it was like really out of the norm, to not go to college and not go to like a great Ivy League, So that definitely took a lot of bravery, I think, on my part, and to really say, no, this is what I want to do, and I know it's not in the norm, and I'm going to do it anyways because it's what I love, and it's what I know that I need to do. But that was super scary, because all of my friends are going off to college, and like they're starting this new chapter, and it's like that's the very normal path. And then I was like, nope. So that's been definitely a challenge. And even now, to go from going to school and having structure set 5 days a week, and then doing homework the other two, to now I set my own schedule, and it's a lot less social time because my friends are mostly on the East Coast. So definitely been a big adjustment, but I will say I definitely think it was absolutely the right path for me and the right choice.
Good.
As challenging of like a this choice that was to make, I think it absolutely, that's also the biggest reward, right? Is like that's
Hmm.
a challenge, but it also I think getting to do this as my job and getting to pursue this is absolutely a gift and a
Hmm.
privilege that I know that a lot of people don't have. And so I feel unbelievably lucky that, I mean, honestly, I wake up and like fiddle at my piano for about 2 hours, at the beginning of my day. And like that's work and making these music videos and meeting these incredible people. And, I travel a lot to New York and LA for
Hmm.
also for recording and performing. And the fact that I get to say that that's my job is, I mean, it's really cool. Like
Yeah.
there's not really any other, but like it's this incredible privilege that, I know a lot of people don't wake up and like do what they love every day. So the fact
Hmm.
that I get to do that, I feel incredibly, incredibly lucky. So that's definitely like the biggest, reward, like pretty much ever. Get to do this as a living, and it's been just like the most fun.
Yeah. So, what does like an average day look like with this as your career?
I mean, it really depends. It
Hmm.
really really varies, depending on if I'm based in the Bay Area, so
Hmm.
like San Francisco. So if I'm home in San Francisco, then sometimes I'm performing, sometimes I'm not, so if I'm performing, like then a lot of my day is prepping for that, getting ready for that, going to the gig, setting up and warming up and all of that stuff. I also do a lot on social media, so I try to post like 3 TikToks a day. So that's a pretty intense
Time
job.
consuming.
Yeah, but can be kind of fun. I force my parents to be in my TikTok, so we have a lot of fun with that. I do try to either sit down at the piano or play a little guitar once a day. So either writing or practicing for a gig or even just playing covers sometimes is really fun. So I try to do that once a day. I also do, when I'm home, I do teach guitar lessons. So that's been a really fun thing for me because I didn't have any female guitar teachers growing up. And actually,
Hmm.
like, to this day, I've never had a female guitar teacher. And it can be pretty like intimidating as a young girl to like go into a room and with a grown man and like he's teaching you. And I was always like intimidated by my guitar
Hmm.
teacher. Like they're great, but it's like intimidating. So all of my students are actually young girls, and so it feels really great to be able to give them a role model,
Hmm.
and show them that like girls don't just have to be the singers, or a lot
Yeah.
of people think girls, right? Like the women are just the singers, but no, we can
Yeah.
play instruments, we can write music. So that's definitely a passion of mine, is getting to give these girls a role model. And that's when I'm in the Bay, but then if I'm in New York or if I'm in LA and I'm going into the studio, our studio days definitely consist of like, I would say like 14-hour days of just
Hmm.
studio, working on music and writing and recording and, all the instruments. And I'm very involved in like the production and stuff. So it really, really, really varies. But, that's kind of a general, yeah.
Yeah. So, when you approach a new song and writing it and then creating, I don't know which order you do it in, but writing the lyrics and then kind of creating the music for it, how does that work for you? What does that creative process look like?
Yeah, I mean, it really, again, it really varies. I think every song is honestly like really different, and I'm sure
Hmm.
people say that a lot, but it's really true. Sometimes songs come out so I tend to write like the vocal. I do like vocal, melody, and lyrics like at the same time.
Okay.
Generally, I don't like to do them separate. I kind of do them together,
Hmm.
and then figure out the chords and all of that stuff like underneath. So, but sometimes it happens in 5 minutes, and sometimes it happens in 5 weeks.
Hmm.
It really just depends on the song, and it also depends, I think, a lot on my like mental state.
Hmm.
Sometimes is, I think, if you start to think too much, it's like a very fine line, because if you start to think too much, then you're not feeling the
Hmm.
song. But if you're feeling too much and not thinking about how does the chords work, what is the
Yeah.
structure, then that's also doesn't work. So it's like this very fine line of like you want to feel but not too much, but you want to think but not too much. So
Mhm.
it's this really, it's like a very specific spot. But sometimes the songs like really click and they're done, and I'm like, wow, that was so easy. And sometimes like I will literally like toil over a song and work for weeks and getting the exact right words or the exact right melody, and I've learned to kind of just, like whatever it is, like just kind of let it be.
Mhm.
Because when I get mad, like that's when it starts to go downhill. So I'm like, okay, this is the process, and kind of just accepting that that's what it's gonna be. So yeah, I mean, every song is like really, it's like annoying, I wish it was the same every time, but fortunately, it's not. So unfortunately, no.
Yeah. So you mentioned before that you do a lot of performing. So what can fans expect out of a live performance from you?
Yes, I love performing, and I've recently actually started performing with my dad, which has been super fun. So he's also very musical, so he's been hopping on some shows with me. So I have done anywhere from like 1 hour shows to I've done 5 hour gigs.
Wow.
So, which I think gives me some chops as a performer. It's usually me with either acoustically by myself, or sometimes I perform with a band. And yeah, I like to do a mix of like covers and originals. And, people really like to hear what they know, I
Hmm.
think. So that's why I like to throw in a couple covers. But I also really do love performing my stuff and, getting a chance to do that. So I definitely have the originals in there for sure.
Hmm.
So the stage is like, I honestly think it's like absolutely where I belong. So like the shows, I think you can expect a good show. I always try to put on a good show.
Hmm.
So
I don't think anybody tries to put on a bad show, I would say.
I mean, this is true. This is true. Knock on wood, we never try to put on a bad show.
Oh, that could be interesting. That could be an interesting marketing technique.
Yeah, an interesting take.
Yeah. Come and
Yeah,
you'll have the worst show of your life.
be intriguing for people. It's actually
I
super.
mean, kind of interest. I'd be interested to see what that would entail.
Yeah, that would be really actually that's not a bad idea. That's kind of intriguing. Like, ooh, what is the worst show?
Like, what would that? I don't even know what that would involve.
I don't know, but I feel like that would be really cool marketing. I think you're onto something here. Might steal that idea.
Go for it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, ooh. Now I'm gonna be thinking, what does the worst show look like, right?
Probably somebody who's really off tune, maybe.
Yeah. I know. How do you take like a bad show but like also make it good?
That would be interesting to see.
I feel there's a
But
possibility.
this, I feel like that'd be like a comedy show almost. You could be
True.
like a comedy artist.
Yeah, Bo Burnham vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be kind of cool though. I like it. I like it. I feel like we're onto something.
Yeah, so after the release of 22, what is kind of next for you in the future, I guess?
Well, I've been in the studio a bunch in the past like couple months, so
Hmm.
I am so excited for new music. I think it's definitely a new era for me.
Okay.
So new sound, new vibe, new Arden. It's revamped. So I'm so excited. I don't have any plans for like release or anything yet. So
Hmm.
it's kind of mean for me to be like gushing about how excited I am and then be like, well, there's nothing. I don't know when it's gonna be released. But yeah, I don't have any plans for the release. I mean,
Okay.
it's definitely coming. It's
Okay.
definitely in the works, and
Hmm.
I am so excited. Definitely so looking forward to this new era. So when it comes, whenever that is, it will be great.
Are you allowed to say a little bit about, what this new sound is like?
Yeah, I mean, I think this was really me experimenting in the studio. I
Okay.
think is like the biggest thing, is I think
Hmm.
these past two EPs, Daydreams and 22, I was really, I was creating things that I knew were safe, and
Hmm.
that I was creating like kind of the music that I knew. And that's not a bad thing, that was what I was doing, because that was what
Yeah.
I felt comfortable with, and I was still, gaining confidence as an artist. And so this time around though, this is definitely me having fun and trying new things and really just like experimenting. And honestly, like I go into the studios and I tell the producers like whatever's the weirdest thing that we can come up with, like that's we're gonna do. So yeah, I'm trying to create music that's just I want it to be a little unexpected, and
Hmm.
not predictable and engaging for listeners intellectually and emotionally, and it's definitely a more sophisticated, a little bit older, it's
Hmm.
19-year-old Arden, so definitely a little bit older sound, but yeah, that's what I can say about it. But
Very
very,
cool. I'm
very,
excited. Yeah, so before I ask the last question, was there anything else you wanted to talk about or mention today?
I don't think so. You've asked some great questions. Yeah, I think I've talked a lot, so it's great.
Yeah, so the last question is, what is the soundtrack of your life?
I don't know if I necessarily like have one specific thing. I feel like that's
Hmm.
kind of the beauty of being a teenage girly is I feel like it's a little all over the place. So, okay, well, are we talking like song or like album or like artist or
So the question is up for you to interpret it however you want,
like,
which makes it more challenging, I know.
it does make it more challenging for sure. Okay, so well, I can say, how about this? I can say the soundtrack of my life in this moment where I am right now
Hmm.
today as 19-year-old Arden is Heart of Glass by Blondie.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at right now. But
Yeah.
who knows? It will probably change tomorrow. It will probably change next week.
Okay, that's a good answer. Yeah, so thank you for coming in and talking to me today. It's been awesome to have you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so for any of our listeners that want to stay up to date and follow you, where can they find you?
Oh my gosh, you could find me literally probably anywhere. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Snapchat. I mean, literally every single thing I am on. So if you just look up Arden Alexa, I'm usually the first one that pops up. So yeah, you can find me anywhere, and we will love to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming and talking to me.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was so great. Really great questions. Love the
Oh,
question.
thank you.
Yeah.